Welcome back to our 2 Cents podcast. We are winding down the work week, joined by Dave Plivlich of the Markram Group, and we're enjoying some Niner Cab 2014.
And Kyle brought the big bottle.
I did. It's the 1.5 liter one because there's a lot of us, and it's a good wine. So thank you to Niner for providing us with a wine to help wind down our work week with this interview. Dave, thanks for coming, and good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you as well.
How was your New Year, bud?
Fantastic. Got to spend a little bit of it with you, actually.
Yeah. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Absolutely.
So Dave is the president of the Petroleum Club, and they had a great dinner and a magician, and I can't think of his name, but
Mark Pascal.
Yes. So there was a magic show and a dinner, and we took the kids, and it was just a great way to spend New Year's. We were home by 9 o'clock, and Dave actually did me a solid on that one. They were sold out, and I called him, and he hooked it up. So
Pulled some strings.
yeah. So thank you.
Nice.
Thank you for that.
Very nice.
Want to talk a little bit about marketing. In today's day and age with social media, it is a new form of marketing, I should say, for some people, especially old souls like myself who don't really understand what that medium of marketing is, but it's important. So give us a general landscape of what this new marketing medium is with social media. How important is it for businesses to market in that arena?
Well, this day and age with it's a way to target a specific demographic. I mean, the detail, the information that we're able to select, the criteria when we do a reach, it's extremely, important, and you can't get those kind of details like from Nelson data. That was the old school way of doing things, and because you got very select families and they have to fill out these books and reply back, whereas this way we can go, okay, well, we know our demographic for one particular client is age 45 to 55, and here are their likes and interests. And so we can select that demographic, and then based on other people that fit in that demographic, here's other things that they like. So most likely you're going to like that too. So, and then for the amount of money that you can spend to do that reach, it's phenomenal. But people make a lot of assumptions. Let's say for Facebook, for example, you can have 1,000 likes on your page, and you assume that if you post something, those 1,000 people are going to see what you've posted. Well, that doesn't really fit into Facebook's business model. They want you to pay for a boosted post to actually make that reach. So,
and I've learned about boosted posts recently because you made me do it.
Just recently?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm telling you, I'm not a.
Well, unfortunately, with the Markram Group, been in business since '98, and websites was the primary reason why I started my company, because it was brand new back then. I mean, just websites didn't exist. There was message boards right before that. There was one company here in Bakersfield, Mustang Software, and they were killing it, and it literally was a flip of a switch. It changed overnight. They were out of business within days, because websites started happening, and you had more access and the ability to put more information out there with a website. And then basically back then it was like online brochures. To a point, a lot of websites are still like an online brochure, but again, it's that immediate access, and now that touch point with mobile, and you watch how mobile's changed. Majority of visitors coming to a website are coming from mobile devices, and so we want to give them information quickly that's easy for them to navigate. Even the older demographic is embracing that more. But when they're ready to make that next point of contact, the ability to start an online chat with them, or make that phone call, or email them, request more information, it's just much more faster. So.
Yeah, and so and I know I've known Dave personally for a long time, and I know that what kind of motivates you is the creativity, and so I could see, and that makes sense, saying why you kind of started your company was the starting with websites, and then I could see the creative juice that would go into that, and that would probably what intrigued you. So before we get too much into the more of the marketing aspect of it, tell us a little bit about the evolution of Markram Group from 1998 to 2020, and what your company's seen and done in that 22-year time frame.
Well, back then it needed to be more of a jack of all trades. So when I first got involved in websites, I was working for another agency, and when we hired somebody, it was a computer scientist. basically, I remember from Missoula, Montana. And so we brought him in, and he was building websites for us. And then he moved to LA shortly after that. So that's probably around 96, 97. And he went to work for a company called Compute.com. And back then, their average website was $1 million. And it was like a $35,000 non-refundable fee to even give an estimate. And so he kept calling me on a regular basis, like, Bud, you've got to get into websites. And I'm like, why? He goes, well, you got computer science guys that are building websites. They know nothing about design and nothing about marketing and trigger points and trying to, turn a visitor into, an actual customer. And so I started my business pretty quick after that. I listened to what he had to say. But back then, I remember going to a meeting with, you guys remember Zond, the windmills up there in Tehachapi?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in a meeting, again, I was with another agency at the time, sitting in this meeting, and, half of the room was a bunch of IT guys. And to me, that's where the clouds opened up, and I went, oh my God, we've got IT guys sitting on the other side of this table. If I was designing a brochure and developing a brochure for you, you wouldn't want the press operator sitting on the other side of the table. This had nothing to do with the technical side. This was just another medium to deliver that message. So that's where I saw my opportunity. I jumped in. And then just as I grew through the years, by 2007, I looked around at my staff, and, I had designers that had more traditional advertising backgrounds. I had copywriters. Just everybody came from that more traditional side. And so we kind of came full circle into a full service advertising agency as opposed to just web, which was unique because most agencies did your traditional stuff, your radio commercials, your TV commercials, your print brochures, your billboard campaigns and all that. And then they would outsource for websites. And we kind of started with websites first, even though I had the background from traditional, and we kind of came full circle back around. So for us, we have a very holistic approach. So we know what we're doing for a client when it comes to print media, what we're doing with their brochures, their trade show displays, their website, their social media, and all that. So, we're very integrated as far as that goes. So.
And you said print media, and so is that still an integral part of a marketing strategy for a business, or is it just more of a kind of an informative, like a brochure here and there?
Some of it is still top of mind awareness. You'll see a lot of advertisers that advertise in print, unless they're hitting a very targeted demographic, they're basically doing a shotgun blast out there. And so it's hard to tell unless they're doing something like you're very good at. You monitor every single call and outreach. If someone emails you or makes a phone call, it's like, where did you hear about us? And you don't really get that with traditional print media, so to speak.
Right.
Billboards, for example. Billboards are effective, but they're top of mind awareness.
And I know, what is top of mind awareness? I know some listeners may be aware of that, but just
I may not need your service at this moment, but when I do, I've heard or seen your name out there or seen your message out there, and so you're the first one that comes to mind when I do need that service.
And that's important with consistency. I know in real estate, we do know of top of mind awareness because marketing is it's very important in our industry. And that consistency of putting your proof of success or your message in front of the consumer is important, because in order to maintain that top of mind awareness, it needs to be a consistent message. I did have a question for you about, we are kind of gearing this, towards Bakersfield listeners, and for someone who has a concept, they are thinking of starting a new business or a new company. How important is it for them to meet with someone like you, your company, to create that brand, that initial brand recognition, and then have a very cohesive package from the very beginning? I feel like right now everything is very visual, social media is huge. So what would be your message to someone who has that concept and wants to take it to the next level?
That's an excellent question. And we see that quite often with a new business. People make that leap and start their own business. And so there's a lot that's being invested. They may be taking a second out on their house to be able to afford to get this business going. But where we see that they fail is they don't put enough investment in their brand and image out the door
in the beginning.
So they'll try to, a relative is going to design a logo for them, and they don't have that professional design skill to do that, and the amount of thought that goes into developing that logo, developing that content for the website. And there's great. This was a recent blog post that my company did. There's services out there such as Wix and Square and those where you can get your website up and going, and those do work initially. But we get a lot of clients that come to us that have done that, and they reach their ceiling and their cap real quick with it because they want it to be able to do this now. They want it to be able to do this now. And it's not what those services are designed to do. It's just to basically get your presence out there. And so, they'll get into the game and they get their business going and they realize, okay, well, this logo isn't really a good logo, or their brand isn't really solid. And so now they're reinvesting and putting more money in. And basically, if they would have came out the door with a proper look and image and brand and strategy, they're going to be a lot more effective.
Yeah, it might be more money up front, but in the long run, it's going to save them money because they're not having to start back over. They're not having to reinvent everything, after 3 years when they've decided, this brand is not going to take me to that next level. It's maybe not, recognized, it doesn't have a good national presentation. Maybe it was something more local. So I think consulting with someone who is a professional on that level that can create that cohesive marketing package from the very beginning is probably one of the best investments you can make when you're starting out a business.
And in simple terms, take a look at the person that's just started their own business. They must be good at something or feel they're good at something, good enough to start their own business and do it. And so when they meet you, they get that. They're like, okay, this is the person I want to deal with. But when they walk away with a crappy looking business card that they got online somewhere that's templated that, 20 other people or 100 other people are using that same stuff, there's that subconscious reinforcement that this is a solid company. I feel good about working with this company. And so, again, people forget that part of it when it's such an important thing, again, just to get in that mindset that this is a good company. They know what they're doing. So
I see that. So I got two things to kind of share with what you've talked about is, so one, estate planning, right? You mentioned online companies that they can create websites, and there are definitely plenty of online, LegalZoom, Home Depot software, to do your trust, whatever. Plenty of them out there. And they come to me and they say, I said, yeah, the language in these things are fine, right? You're getting a product that meets all the legal requirements to establish, assuming you get it notarized, right? That establishes a valid living trust in California. But what I often run across is in reviewing trusts of clients who have gone that route is oftentimes those trusts aren't funded, for example, because LegalZoom doesn't provide that option, or they didn't know about it. Or if they are funded, they're funded with improper assets, such as retirement accounts or 401ks or IRAs. So you get, I really sense what you're saying. You can go out and use these services, but if you want to kind of do it right from the beginning, why not hire somebody who does that for a living? And I think that's kind of what you're...
And, you take a look at those kind of off-the-shelf templated type systems and programs, they also kind of miss the mark on the personal aspect and, who they're dealing with. I see more and more clients, and we encourage them, instead of using stock photography, for example, let's use photography of your people, of your office, of your desks, and not something that your competitor potentially has up there as well. One of the other things that's big that a lot of people don't realize is becoming more and more important is also your online reputation. Utilizing, I really don't want to get into Yelp
and
right
Google
now.
reviews and all of that. Yeah,
Yelp.
for me, it's Zillow and Realtor.com.
Necessary evil. But things like Google reviews and getting
Didn't Yelp basically start forcing people, business to utilize their services? It was like a hostage situation.
You're one of my attorneys. I want to be careful about what I say, but no, there is that aspect of that if you start talking to Yelp and they're pushing you to pay for services and you deny those services, I've seen clients that have been ranking really well on Yelp that refuse to pay for those additional services, that all of a sudden all those good Yelp reviews end up at the bottom and all the negative reviews rise to the top. It's not regulated, so they pretty much can just do whatever they want. So, we try to encourage our clients to reach out to their clients and get good, post a Google review. It's great that they'll send you a card and say thank you for your service, but what's more important is you get them to go to Google and post a good review there, because a lot of people will read those reviews. You also want to respond to negative reviews and be upfront. That transparency is important. And when people see that there's a negative review, but they see how you've responded to it, that can actually work in your favor, because people realize there's going to be that small handful that you just can't make those people happy no matter what they do.
Right.
So.
Absolutely. But when you see a company that says, what can I do to help you? Call me, we can talk about this. And then that they're responsive and they're trying to mitigate whatever that negative review is.
Well, and a lot of that stuff too can be automated as well. So that response time is so critical. I mean, so if somebody fills out a form, an info request form on like our website or a client's website, we have an automated response. It gives the appearance that you physically just did that. But again, it's that quick touch back. And then even with Facebook and with LinkedIn and all the access that we have with mobile devices, you can easily start a chat with them and respond quickly. And that just kind of helps close that deal even faster for some people.
So I have to admit that you bringing up Google, and earlier you mentioned Wix. I am one of those business owners that when I first left the brokerage I was with after about 15 years and went out on my own, I was, trying to do things in a, just be conscientious of what I was spending, obviously. And I did build my own Wix website. What I have learned and what I need to be doing and just to let other people know, SEO is very important. I did not realize this at the time, that your SEO really needs to be managed by someone who is a professional, because the algorithms are always changing. If you want to show up on a Google search, your SEO, it doesn't matter how nice your website looks or how many maybe pictures you put on it from Wix. If your SEO is not on point and it is not up to date, your company is not going to show up on Google searches. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works and the importance?
Yeah, you got to remember that search engines, it's artificial intelligence. So nobody's physically coming to look at your website once it's launched. So you get points for a lot of different things. You get points for how old your domain is. When's it going to expire? Is it going to expire? Did you just register it today? Is it going to expire next year? If it's going to doesn't renew for another 5 years, you get a couple extra points for that. One of the other things that people miss, especially when it comes to SEO, is you built the site or you paid an SEO company to build your site, and they do all the foundational SEO and optimizing that website for the search engines. But then again, search engines are also looking at Google, for example. They want to see, is your website mobile friendly? Is it secure? And that's that little green lock up there on the left-hand side of your URL. And you may not be taking social security card information or credit card information over the website, but Google still wants to see that data is secure. The other thing it's going to look at is content. And this is the most important part for SEO, because just because you do the foundational SEO for a website, you've got to look at you and your competitor, and your competitor hasn't updated the content on their website for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatnot. You, on the other hand, have a email subscription box, which tells the computer that you're providing information to your clients that goes beyond just the website, that you have a blog going and you've got content that's been posted, once or twice a week or even once or twice a month. So you're going to get more points over that competitor as well, because again, the artificial intelligence is going, this is old, this is new, this must be better. So that's how you do that. And then outside of SEO, I'm sure you've heard of AdWords. So that's your more immediate result. I know John here has had a lot of experience in that as well, but that's where you want to get immediate results. You're going to pay for that. And so when people do a search for a particular keyword or key phrase, who's paying the highest? They're coming up at the top.
They're going to show up.
Mm-hmm. And also for brick and mortar businesses, you also want to look at making sure that your business listing with Google is up to date and all that content is there as well.
David, if you were a new business owner, maybe you're an accountant like me, right? You could be a real estate broker like Shelley, but didn't have what I would consider to be that phenomenal marketing budget. And Shelley, let's pretend that we're past that branding stage, right? So we did that, but now we're actually going to do an ad spend and go, try to start generating what I'm going to consider to be real traffic to close some business. As a new business owner with limited budget, where would you tell that business owner to go first?
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram.
Absolutely.
And those would be paid ads, I suspect, targeting specific demographic?
That's correct. That's correct. So you can do boosted posts. So in your Facebook feed, you'll see those posts. But as you're also looking at those posts in Facebook, you'll see on the right-hand side, there's also ads in there. So there's two ways to kind of hit that and get your message out. Right. And so basically you're trying to build those likes, to the page, but you're also trying to get that call to action, whether or not it's get them over to your website. It's also important, like with your blog posts, like we do with Kyle, we post those blog posts to his website, but we also post those on LinkedIn and also on Facebook. and then we boost those posts.
So you feel like, I'm the guy, limited budget. You said Facebook or LinkedIn.
Instagram.
And so that Instagram.
Yep.
And so you feel like those are the most kind of cost-effective return on the investment, if you will, or return on that traffic.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
So what I've noticed, and I did the same thing Shelley did when I first started my practice, and I'm sure a lot of people do this, is undercapitalized.
Absolutely. You don't realize how important it is on the onset.
100%. And so, Dave, listeners out there who have recently or going to recently start a new business and they want to use Markram, right? They want to go to you and say, hey, I want brand awareness. I want to start my marketing outright. How do you advise them to make a marketing budget that becomes part of their initial capitalization of their company? I don't know if it's a simple question of you say 5%, 2%. I don't know if there's a magic number, but how does someone budget for marketing as part of their new business? Now, I'm not talking about McDonald's or some company that is already established and has a marketing budget to the roof, but this is somebody here in Bakersfield, right? They're listening to our podcast. They listen every week. They're getting tips from us. They're listening to our local business leaders and community leaders, and they're saying, you know what, I'm ready to take this next step. And as part of that, I want to go to a marketing company that'll help me do that. How do you make that part of your budget? How much of your budget is that, or should that be part of your budget, and how important is that?
The great part about it is you can get away with a few $100s, but it's like anything else. The more you spend, the more results you're going to get. So, when we look at working with a client and based on the budget they may have, if they're somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000 a month, what we can do with that is we develop their blog posts. We do all the SEO. We also manage their social media, and so we'll get all those posts out there. But again, for a few $100s, you can at least start seeing some results. But again, the more you spend, the greater results you're going to get.
And John said something funny today. He I think it was a question Dave even asked. He said, well, what's your budget? And John made a remark as well. How much money am I get back? That's how much my budget is, right?
What's the return? What's the
if
ROI?
The return's good, I'll give you.
Excuse me for being the math nerd, but at some level, if we're getting the right return on the investment,
exactly, then it makes it worth it.
Then it should only be some level of how much work we can
handle, right?
Right.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, you got to hire more people.
I've got clients that have web presence that I got one client in particular. When we built his website, he's like, within 2 weeks, he goes, can you take my email address off my website? And I'm like, what? And he goes, well, I'm debating and taking my phone number off as well. And I'm like,
no, that's the whole point, right?
Explain. He's been in business for many, many, many years. It was his dad's business, and I believe his grandfather's business as well. He's got a very great, steady clientele. He's got the right number of employees. He doesn't want more business, but he needs that web presence because somebody forgets. They're not going to the yellow pages anymore. They're still trying to mail those books to us. But he doesn't want more business. He's happy with the amount of business he's got. But again, he wants that. If somebody does refer, that they can go and see.
So that's an electronic brochure as opposed to something that's trying to capture traffic, right?
Correct.
Something that's trying to close leads.
Yeah, correct. But it's funny when the discussion of budget comes up. I ask somebody what their budget is. You get a lot of, especially new businesses, like, if I tell you it's 5,000, I bet you're going to come back and say it's 5,000. Well, yeah, I need to know what I'm working with. So the analogy that we use a lot with our clients is building a home. Okay, our process is very similar to building a home. We start out with that blueprint. But I got to know, are we building a 2-story house that's, 3,000 square foot, or are we building a single story that's 1,900 square feet? I have to know that information if I'm going to do the proper job with you. Now, when a client comes in and says we got a budget of $60,000, okay, well, we're probably going to include some radio. We're probably going to include some billboards. But if your budget's $5,000, you're not getting a billboard, pal. It's just not going to happen. So it is important for us to know, and it is a partnership with them, and we have to be able to work together to go, okay, this is how much money we have to work with. This is what we can do, and we'll maximize that budget, no matter how big or small that budget is.
Well, absolutely, because their success is your success. So any good business owner, the more success you have, you're going to reinvest in your company, and that includes marketing.
Well, in working with an agency, it is a relationship. I mean, the way we go, we don't do long-term contracts because it's a partnership. It's a marriage that we're working together with, and if you're not happy and we're not happy, well, let's part ways. But, I've seen people, I had one client in particular that we did a rebranding for them, and they went direct to the billboard company to develop their billboards. instead of getting us involved. And a lot of new businesses will also do that. And I see it a lot in real estate. Well, this publication over here will design my ad for free if I advertise. This one will design my ad for free if I advertise. This one will do my billboard design for free. Well, it takes 5 to 7 hits.
It's not cohesive, though.
But it's not cohesive. So you're missing those additional hits. Instead, they're just one-time hits. So this particular client, I remember driving down the road, and I looked up and I saw that billboard, and it literally had every single service that they provide, their phone number, their street address. They might as well painted that thing black because nobody's going to read it. No. It's top of mind awareness. I mean, you're driving by at 50, you're probably pushing 45, 65. Yeah. But you're flying by there. They're not writing down that phone number. If you got a web address, it's good and easy to remember. Okay, there's a couple points for you, but no one's going to sit and call that phone number, especially the ones where it's 1-800-555 call me. Now I got to figure out what CALLME is. So they miss that opportunity. I guarantee those guys come back and go, billboards are ineffective. No, it's because you didn't utilize the medium properly. So.
Yeah, David, I have to tell you, one of the things I enjoy doing as an accountant is, I work with a lot of corporate clients, and we're always talking about financial statements and kind of the results of business. And I think most of us would argue that the service we're delivering or the product that we're delivering or whatever it is that we're delivering, we've all got that covered, right? It's so I don't care if I'm building widgets or selling ink pens or providing accounting services. We all argue that we have that technical expertise, right? So what's lacking within most of these business environments is the right amount of revenues. Rarely do I have a client that says, oh, we've got more revenues than we know what to do with, and we just suck at being able to kind of manage everything and go do that job, right? They all believe that they can deliver on that product or that service or whatever they're doing. So it's all about the right sales number in the first place. And so, what you're doing in that marketing environment, that sales environment is so important. And I think it's really, really appreciated, if you will, because it's the lifeblood, right? The phone's got to ring.
Yes.
We have to have some contact, whether it's coming through a Facebook, ad or an email or that website. And I think business owners really, really underestimate that. Even right now, I have a client that's suffering a little bit. Their industry's suffering a little bit, and so the first thing that they're contemplating doing is we're going to reduce our ad spend. And so and I think that's a pretty typical response with a lot of business owners. Do you find that to be the case?
Yeah, there's a classic thing, with old school advertisers at least that we're all aware of. But there was this story of Wrigley chewing gum,
right?
And they're on the train, and their marketing guy is like, we killed it last year. Sales are up. We should, cut back on our advertising. And Mr. Wrigley said, all right, how fast do you think this train's going right now? He said, 65, 70 miles an hour. So do we take off the engine now because we don't need that?
Right.
So
we're already going 70. So
we're already going 70.
Yeah, we're good.
What the hell we need the engine for? So,
right.
It's that attitude that, they cut back. And even when, we end up with slow business seasons, that's one of the first places that people want to cut. Yeah. It's like, man, that's the worst place to cut. They'll cut their advertising first, then they'll start looking at their systems and processes and start going, okay, well, can we do things more efficiently? But you don't cut that one first, Right.
Well, you mentioned, John, that their company was suffering, or their industry, and it might be that, personally, industries are evolving and changing at a very rapid pace right now because of technology. Just like Kyle mentioned, LegalZoom. With my business, it's, e-buyers and Zillow buyers, and, we'll do this for nothing, but yet the service they give you or the advice they give you is not that great. So I feel like in order to get ahead of that, you really need a great marketing partner, right, to be able to adapt, because our industries are changing at a rapid pace right now. So have you seen that in your business, where you kind of have to go almost back, not necessarily to the drawing board, but say, look, like, your industry has changed. What do we need to do to get ahead of this and make us, more substantial and get us a little bit ahead of this changing curve that's happening?
There was a lot there.
But question. Like, for me, and that's something, hey, I'm going to be calling you because I need a way to market in
Well,
that respect.
Shelley, and excuse me, David, you can slap me here, but you're the expert. But to me, that would be differentiation, right? And so you're going to have, you've got some online presence that you're having to compete against that does not do the same things that you do. They don't provide the service that you do.
Customer service. For me, we
There's-
take it back to customer service.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And there's so many cookie cutter services out there. There's LegalZoom.
Yeah.
So I can go get the documents that I need, but I don't have somebody sitting there next to me going, have you thought about this? Are you looking at this? Same thing with real estate, having that professional agent sit there going, that's great, but have you thought about this? Have you looked at this? And there's these other things that come in with that customer service and that professional expertise that these cookie cutter ones or services, they're just going after how many monthly billings can we make?
Yep.
It's just going to
Absolutely.
Volume,
It's
volume, right? Volume.
Yeah,
Volume.
quantity over quality.
Yes.
And that's what we talk about. It's all quantity over quality. You're not going to get that same level
and
of customer service.
No matter what we're doing, it still comes down to that last referral that you get, that person that goes, I've worked with this company. For me, we don't do a lot of bidding on projects. We're the agency that, I've got experts. I got 3 designers that all they focus on is that user experience. I've got content developers it's what is the message that we're trying to say? Where do we want to lead? What's the end result there? We've got project managers that focus on that. So it's a true group. I mean, we've got that group expertise to deliver something that's even that's going to be more effective.
I mean, I'm not, I've said I've known Dave personally for a long time, and so, this is not a paid advertisement because Dave's my buddy, but I regret, and I've pretty told him this, I regret not doing the marketing I'm doing now 7, 8, 9 years ago. And it was just, it was me trying to be, cost effective, but in reality, I was shooting myself in the foot. And again, I don't know that there's, like you said, you have $200 to spend, we'll make $200 work. You have $5,000 a month to spend, we'll make $5,000 work. It's just so important, I think, for new businesses to really understand the importance of doing it right and doing it right from the beginning. So I guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but so I meet with clients who want to set up an incorporation or an LLC, send them over to John, make an S-corp election, they need a CPA. And so all these things that are normal in my course and scope of business. But I guess what is not normal is seeing someone come in and maybe asking them that question, like, hey, what's your marketing? But what are you going to do to market this business? How would you advise me to help my clients in understanding what they should look at when marketing their new business?
Understand their demographic is very important. And a lot of times what I see, we just saw this with a client this past month, who they said their demographic was, once we ran the campaigns through Facebook and Instagram, it was amazing to see, well, that's not who your target demographic are. You're hitting a much older group than what you thought that you were going to hit. And so again, understanding those reports, and sure, somebody can go on Facebook, create their Facebook page and, spend money on boosted posts and try to do that themselves. But it's what they do, what they're going to do with that data when they get it. We're able to sit down with our social media strategists and the client going, okay, well, you're saying this, but this is what we're seeing and what those results are. So they get a better understanding of what we're doing and what the game plan is that we're going to do differently next month or add to, so we do a lot of A/B testing with clients in our ads on Facebook. So we know, okay, well, based on what you said, we did that. Based on what we professionally thought, well, look whose numbers are higher. So,
Right.
So there's that part of it. So that makes a little sense. So
Yeah. So in reality, whether you're a new business or an existing business, it's really never not the time to kind of take a look at what you're doing and see if it's actually working. I guess that's the message that I want to.
Well, and that's the hardest part of marketing, I feel like, because as a business owner, we are so bogged down in running the business and, making sure that, we have the correct employees and we're providing that right level of customer service, that high level that we expect. And there's so many different things that we are involved in on the day-to-day as a business owner, that making sure that our marketing is effective and looking at that research is, I think, that missing gap. And that is where a company that specializes in that is incredibly important and really worth the money spent.
exactly. Well, so we work with a client. They're like, okay, well, we can write. We're the professionals. We'll write the blog posts. At the end of the day, that's not what they're doing for a living, is being a blog post writer. With our clients, we'll do, okay, well, what are the topics that we want to cover over the next 2 or 3 months? And then we'll have a copywriter actually call interview them. And that copywriter, they're doing two things. A, they're getting that first draft to you, so you're not starting out with a blank sheet of paper at the end of the day after you're done doing all of your normal daily tasks for your business. But the copywriter is also going, okay, they can write that draft so you can sit down and quickly edit and go, I don't want to say this, I do want to say this. But the other part is our copywriters are also looking at that content going, how the search engines are going to react to this. So it's twofold. We're writing for a human audience, but we're also writing for artificial intelligence. So those are things that other people, they're just not taking into consideration when they're developing their content.
Yeah. And so when I first started my practice, I got great advice, and I think it's one we'll pass along is you need to spend 50% of your time in your business and 50% of the time on your business. And if you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. I don't care how good you are at whatever your specialty is. That was the key to success. So I think people who want to work on their business, that's where Markram Group comes in. So how do our listeners get a hold of you? Do you have a web page, phone number? What social media? How do you like to
we're on yellow pages. We're in the yellow pages on page 54.
When they mail you the book, turn to page.
No, so we're obviously on all the social media platforms, but themarkramgroup.com is our website, and then for phone number 489-4444. So easy to remember.
Appreciate it. Johnny, do you have any closing remarks, any questions?
No, I don't think so. It's, again, as an accountant, I see it all the time. And most of these business owners figured out the service delivery and the product delivery, right? And so it's getting to that point where they've got the phone has to ring, or they got to get enough traffic, enough inquiries to be able to make something of that. And that's the biggest struggle. So I think it's just so incredibly valued, David.
And it's a write-off.
And well, listen, I always say don't spend $1 to save 40 cents for the record. So, if you want to, if you're just looking for a write-off, you can write it off to John
but
Duffield
it's a good,
CPA,
no,
right?
it's a good cause though. It's good for the write-off.
And it can be intimidating when you said, 50% need to work on their business. That's where they get, how do I do that? But that's where companies like mine come into play.
Right.
And one of the things I wanted to say earlier, and at the end of the day, what we really want is, I could do proposals, but at the end of the day, what I want is somebody sitting at lunch, somebody goes, here's my problem, and the other person on the other side of the table goes, here's who you call. That's what we all want at the end of the day. Right. So we got to have that presence out there to validate who we are. But again, because if I sat there across from lunch and said, here's my problem, and someone gives me a card, I'm going to go look at that website. I'm going to go look and vet them out a little bit before I make that call. And so I want that feeling of encouragement there that, this seems like a solid company. They got great reviews. They got a great looking website. They seem dialed in. There's no typos on the website. I mean, you'd be amazed. I mean, that can steer somebody away real quick because of a stupid typo. I mean, even, resumes I've gotten through the years for designers, I get this resume, I'm like, oh, bud.
You spelled your name wrong.
You're handing this out to how many people? And you didn't get past, step one. Yeah. So anyways.
Shelley, anything else in closing?
No, that was all. Thank you so much. I personally am going to be calling you to help me with my business.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me. 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 Thank you for